accept that request. We will start with you, Your Excellency. صاحب السمو الملكي، شرعتم في رؤية عام 2020 للبحرين، ومنذ ذلك الوقت فإن البحرين حققت الكثير.
A regional hub and international hub for finance in terms of achieving excellent rankings in the World Bank Human Capital Index. You rank first among the regional countries. You rank first among the regional countries and 31st globally in terms of ICT development. But despite all these achievements, there are structural challenges. 100% of the public debt will reach 100% of GDP. This is what is estimated for next year. Your budget deficit is for 2018, you would require a price of oil of $99 in order to achieve balance. These are big challenges. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait came up with an assistance package, an investment package for Bahrain in the amount of $10 billion US. My question to you, will this be enough to help you mitigate the challenges? And what are the measures that you will undertake in order to really meet the challenges head on and be able to enable the economy of Bahrain to have positive growth in the future?
Mashkoor. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, well, Your Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be here. And in my opening statement, I think in answer to your question, I would first like to extend my thanks to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and the State of Kuwait for their very generous stand and understanding and belief in what we're trying to do. In 2008, when we launched Vision 2030, we based it around a set of principles. Those principles were competitiveness, fairness, and sustainability. Now, we knew if we wanted to tackle sustainability, we had to have enough wind in our sails. So there was a great deal of deficit spending, especially after the financial crisis of 2008 and the troubles that we faced in 2011. I am very happy to report that the Kingdom of Bahrain has never shown a year of negative growth, ever. We put in place a number of policies to help us achieve that goal. So we tackled, let's say, 6 major factors of production. We made sure that land was accessible, energy was accessible, labor was accessible, capital was accessible, the laws were in line with what needs to be considered best global practice, and we had international connectivity, both physical and digital. Those were the main things that we focused on in the last 10 years. Of course, you've just heard me not mention sustainability. The levels of spending that we had put in place were not sustainable with the current economic structure. We were very successful in diversifying our economy, and last year our non-oil growth was 5%, which is quite remarkable, really, for the region, considering the challenges we face.
One of the highest in the region.
So I don't know if this is known, but because we have diversified our economy, oil is only 80% of our GDP. However, here's the problem. Our government revenue did not match our economic growth. So oil accounts today for 75% of government revenue. And this is unsustainable at current expenditure. So the goal of this fiscal injection, if you want to call it that, we like to call it a structural fiscal balance package, allows us to restructure our economy to be more ready and more capable of being sustainable well into the next decade. We will do a number of things to achieve this. The first being we will reduce our operational costs of doing business in government. 2, we will balance the accounts of our electricity and water generation, because frankly, right now that's one of the top 3 major drains on our budget. Third, we have introduced an early retirement package, or a voluntary retirement package, actually. It's very successful. I think to date we have over 6,000 applications. It may be a bit more. I haven't checked the numbers in the last 2 days. And lastly, we have successfully introduced the VAT system, the Gulf VAT system, and that is something I'm very proud of the Bahraini people for doing. It's not an easy thing to do, and it passed with flying colors through our parliament. So, in short, I think while we are an oil economy, we don't want to remain strictly tied to it as a source of income. Let's think of it this way. We need to move from an oil economy to a smart oil economy. And if we succeed at doing that, I will have been a success.
الله يعطيك العافية سيدي.
شكرا.
دولة الرئيس سعد الحريري. لبنان رغم كل التحديات السياسية والأمنية والاقتصادية والسكانية استثمر بشعبه، استثمر بالإنسان اللبناني. هنالك مؤشر على تفوق لبنان عربيا المرتبة الأولى والمرتبة الرابعة عالميا في جودة التعليم بالعلوم والرياضيات لعام 2018. وطبعا لبنان يصدر
and Japan, of course, exports thousands, tens of thousands of educated sons and daughters to the Gulf area. And although this fact is based on the international reports of the World Bank, of course, referred to the weak economic performances, and of course that is estimated by 1.5 this year, and the budget deficit is going to be 3.7%. Of course, my question, Your Excellency Prime Minister, of course, and you're going to, of course, you're working so hard to form a new government, and do you think that this government, of course, once formed, going to have a great transfer and quality transfers in facing, confronting the challenges that are facing Lebanon now? There's no doubt, undoubtedly, Lebanon is facing a number of challenges in these days, and of course, this government that you're going to form, of course, it is going to include, of course, what is the National Coalition and Agreement as well, and in former governments that truly was based on a National Coalition and Agreement, of course, and then we, through organizing a number of conferences and meetings as well in Brussels, and so this is going to be for the common good and for the good of the Republic of Lebanon, Lebanese Republic, and what is really important for all of us is the reform that we need to achieve in Lebanon, and of course any delay that truly has been caused in this government forming this government, because we are looking forward to forming a government that truly can touch and that can achieve the wishes and meet expectations of the Lebanese citizens in Lebanon for the time being, of course, and truly we are facing a number of changes. The whole world is changing. In 2018, for instance, we still have laws since 1950s and of last century and the 70s of last century. I mean, so this means that really we need to work hard to change all of these regulations and laws. So this government, that's going to be formed, is going to work so hard to overcome all the economic challenges and the growth that is estimated by 1.5. So I believe, I'm so optimistic, and I think that Chile is going to be very serious. Government is going to regain the trust and the confidence of the citizens in his state because of the long suffering since the martyrdom of my father, and so there has been a lot of changes. So this government, and then after electing, of course, the president, His Excellency President Michel Aoun, and these elections were not well expected from people who didn't have an expectation, good expectations, and so this government is going to be a good image of the new assembly, People's Assembly, and that has admitted and has all the reforms and that we have decided in Paris. So God willing, and in addition, and the most important thing for all of us and for this government specifically is that really the ministers, and they're going to be appointed, they're going to be young ministers, including female ministers, because we believe that really the women has to play an important role in the public office in Lebanon, and this is going. In my perspective, I think that Chile, if women are responsible for running the country, I think that Chile are going to be feeling very comfortable. And God willing, this next government, this government is going to perform in an excellent level based on the highly qualified cadres, with highly qualified cadres, and that's going to focus on giving more roles for women to play. In addition, they will, and things that we decided, of course, naturally going to be carried out, and everything's going to be set right based on the ministerial declaration and a statement. Lebanon, of course, now forming the government in Lebanon, it takes time because they like to work all together. So, and as we said before, so in 9 months, in 10 months, of course, but God willing, during the days to come, we were going to be conforming this government will, God willing. Your Royal Highness. Of course, and so sorry, excuse me for asking. Before I get in this topic, the economic investment-based topic that I'm going to ask Your Highness, of course, we cannot continue before asking something that I got in mind and the minds of all the attendees and attendants. So in my mind as well, the Khashoggi case, and I would like to ask this question to Your Highness, Your Royal Highness.
First of all, the crime was really painful to all Saudis, and I believe it is painful to every human in the world. It is a heinous crime that cannot be justified. Today, Saudi Arabia is carrying out all legal things to finalize the investigations, to cooperate with the Turkish government, and to present the perpetrators to the court and take their judgment. This is the expected thing that all governments would do once they see a crime. Undoubtedly, the cooperation today between the Saudi and Turkish government is unique, and we know that many are trying to use this painful thing to drive a wedge between Saudi Arabia and Turkey. I want to send them a message. They will not be able to do that as long as there is a king called King Salman bin Abdulaziz. And a crown prince called Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia. And a president in Turkey called Erdogan. This wedge will not happen, and we will prove to the world that the two governments are cooperating to see that all perpetrators are taken to court and justice will be seen at the end. This is what I can say. In addition to this, Saudi Arabia has taken steps, very huge steps in developing the Saudi economy in the past 3 years, and in restructuring many institutions and sectors. Today, it is time to restructure national security institutions in Saudi Arabia in order to meet and be equal to the rest of the institutions that have been upgraded and developed.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. Before just to get back to you, of course, now you talked about reforms, Your Excellency. This issue, of course, is very painful, and there are a lot of pains, and where every citizen, of course, is going to feel this pain based on these reforms. And you adopted, and of course, Center conference that is based on in the international community, in addition to the role of the international community to enhance Lebanon. Are you going to accept, of course, are the all parties and the government parties going to accept exactly what's going to happen and what's going to happen? Are the Lebanese citizens going to bear and endure such pains, of course? And thank you very much for such important question. This very crucial problem. Undoubtedly, of course, any reform in any country of the world, of course, as usually people do not want to change. They like to go on and just just like they're doing they do business in a traditional way, of course. No, but of course we cannot continue, we cannot go, and so that's the reason why I was very keen on organizing, and based on this internet and in this Saturday conference, most of our political friends and partners, of course, they have to have a consensus on all the decisions that were made in Saturday, just based on the ministerial council, and we're going based on all the national dialogues with all our counterparts, political counterparts. The basic thing, of course, that any politician joins the government has to approve all the reforms of Saturday, because we're Lebanon, of course, you cannot meet these challenges without these reforms. And so, in addition, of course, this is, of course, there are many different issues like corruption, of course, and we work so hard to fight. All of these issues, of course, and I would like from here to thank all the countries that really, contributed and played a major role. For instance, to communicate. I was always in continuity in communication with His Royal Highness, of course, and he played an important role, for instance, to talk all our his counterparts in other countries to invest in Lebanon. Of course, Saturday is based on two main issues, two main points. Of course, to develop the private sector, in which is Lebanon, for instance, we have worked so hard to develop the concept of DPP, most of the electricity-based products, water and roads and communications, all of these is going to be based on the private sector, of course. Now we're going to pay a penny in such sectors, but it's still there are a lot of other projects, for instance, that are based on the feasibility study, which shows not to be business-oriented, for instance, like wastewater treatment and all of these projects. Of course, this is going to be dealt by the World Bank and and the public investment fund that's going to join our other partners, so as to help us in addition to the assistance that comes from Kuwait and other countries that truly put just like 11 billion, more than $11 billion, and I think that truly the reforms are going to focus on so many areas that's going to be based on changing the work level in Lebanon, and this type of change, of course, is going to be for the good of Lebanon, and is going to be for the national interests of Lebanon. So, and I think, and I personally think that truly all Lebanese people are very cautious and fully aware that Lebanon cannot go on doing business as we used to do before. So we need to actually to create such reforms, and we said that and to be bold and this type of investment, of course, is going to cause growth. And as you know, that in Lebanon, for instance, the problem that we used to suffer, we have 1.5 million Syrian refugees, and this is going to constitute a great big burden on Lebanese, of course, in the center, and that's going to focus on infrastructure. So I think that this money spent is going to be spent on the country, on all the projects. For instance, the growth is going to increase to be estimated by $2 billion US, and I think that that is going to be and the return is going to be create 55,000 jobs in so many sectors like electricity, and even in addition to the other sectors that I named. And I think that we are on track of reforms, and these reforms and all our counterparts and our partners in political partners, they will approve and agree on such reforms, Your Royal Highness. And the reforms, of course, became very fruitful. Right now, 1.9% is going to be expected of economic growth this year, of course, with with the reduction in and the budget deficit is going to be lower, 4.7, and the next year, of course, 1.9%, 3.7, and these are great achievements. And however, still there are some doubts as regards to the seriousness of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in carrying out the reforms, the required reforms. I mean, the economic and social altogether. Is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia going to be on track with reforms?
First, I ask everybody not to believe me. Just look at the numbers. Numbers speak louder. To correct the information you mentioned, the expectation for the exports of Saudi from 2.2 to 2.5%. This has been revisited 5 times. Every day we revisit the numbers to be better. Next year will be better. If we look at the numbers in the past 2 or 3 years, we see, for example, that our non-oil revenues have doubled 3 times, tripled. The budget this year is the largest in the Saudi history. The next budget will be more than 1 trillion riyals. We find that the rate of spending, the capex and operation is increasing, and the salaries is decreasing. And 3 years ago, the rate of salaries to the budget is 50%. We expect next year to be 45%. Although the spending is increasing and this chapter is increasing, the percentage is decreasing despite the employment is increasing. We believe unemployment rate will improve until 2030. The Public Investment Fund was $350 million. This year is $300 billion. By the end of the year, it'll be more than $400 billion. So, which is one of the objectives 2020. It could be achieved in 2019. So it could be by 2020 it should reach $500 billion, reaching $2 trillion or more by 2030. Our position in global competitiveness is better. This has been announced. Just look at the numbers. Don't believe me. It will explain to you where we were and where we are, and look at the numbers next year, and it will explain more. Also reform in other sectors, like in the cultural, entertainment, or sports. I believe these numbers are very clear. When looking at classifying Saudi Arabia or rates in Saudi Arabia or events in Saudi Arabia, there are leaps in Saudi Arabia in the past 3 years, and this is something that will no doubt continue. We live among a people that is great. Once they identify a goal, they will achieve it. No obstacle is too great for the Saudi people. All our mega projects are ongoing. Our war on extremism is ongoing. Our war on terrorism is ongoing. Developing and upgrading the country is ongoing. No matter what they do to lower our speed or hinder our speed, they will not succeed.
I came back again to ask you in English.
Your Highness, most of the investors in this hall are here
معظم
to
المستثمرين
invest in
في
Saudi
هذه
Arabia.
القاعة يريدون أن يستثمروا.
How do you convince them to come to Bahrain?
تقنعهم لأن يأتوا إلى البحرين للاستثمار في البحرين. الآن لقد وضعتني في مشكلة.
That's the question.
That's the question. اسمح لي الله يطول عمرك. All right. Well, here's the
Actually, they're investing and we're investing in Bahrain.
Yeah. Exactly. تسلم يا طويل العمر. His Royal Highness stole the words out of my mouth. The people are investing in Bahrain. And the good news is that in 2015, FDI was about $65 million, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it was good for that year, if you consider the drop in the price of oil and all of the other ancillary economic activity that got affected. But this year, we're forecasting over 600. So that is a 10-fold increase in 3 years. Wow. Alhamdulillah. But here's the even better news. Any growth in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, any reform in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, any success in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is very contagious for the region. we see a very bright future as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia continues to reform and continues to invest in all of these or giga projects, as they're called in English. And frankly, we've seen it. I have been on the forefront of the reform agenda, well, since we first met each other about 20 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, when I first met Bassem, it was, I think, on a dusty day in Aqaba, maybe in Jordan, or was it in Amman, maybe? I'm not sure.
It was in the Red Sea, actually.
It was at the Red Sea. Red Sea. But
I was 15 then, you know.
well, you managed to keep. I went grey. But the dreams are still the same dreams. The view that His Royal Highness has for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is what we all want for our countries. And if Saudi Arabia, which is the main engine of growth for this whole region and the main pillar of stability, is successful and is growing, then we are all doing very well. So in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, growth in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is good for us. Please invest in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. All of you that are here, please invest. Because when you invest in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you are investing us, and the world is a safer place.
Your Royal Highness, don't worry, we have 50 billion US dollar yesterday and today.
Inshallah.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
سمو الأمير، مرة أخرى أريد أن أعود إلى موضوع الشرق الأوسط. كيف ترون مستقبل هذه المنطقة، مستقبل الشرق الأوسط؟
I believe there are unique projects in the Middle East. If we look at the Middle East after the establishment, the foundation of the UN, it was a difficult period. There are countries that are operating well, used natural resources, especially oil in the Gulf. But a man came in the 90s, and he showed us an example, a model, and he proved that we can succeed in the Middle East, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid. He presented a model in Dubai, and he made everyone in the Middle East convinced that they can do, not like Dubai, but even more. He increased the bar, and we want to increase the bar in Saudi Arabia, and everybody wants to do the same. We could see after that Abu Dhabi moved quite forcefully with great achievements. The rest of the Emirates, Bahrain, since the Crown Prince took office in '99 until today, many great achievements. This is not to be mentioned to or compared to what's going to happen in the future. Kuwait today, they have 2030 vision, 35 vision. They have great people. They have great financial resources. Quite easily, they will meet their goals, great goals. Today in Egypt, last year, it was 5% or a little more growth in the GDP. Today, more than GDP. Unemployment rate is declining quite rapidly. The building of housing projects, I could not believe it myself. I visit some areas in Egypt. I find all the officials, they're crying while working on the ground in order to restore the great Egypt and the powerful Egypt. And despite all of this, they believe that no matter what they achieved in the past 2 years is nothing. They haven't started yet. We could see that there's tremendous work led by the Prime Minister in Lebanon to also restore the great role of Lebanon. And I guarantee that the efforts of our brothers in Lebanon will succeed under the leadership of the Prime Minister and the rest of the Lebanese leaders. Jordan, they have also quite leaps, and we participate in some of these projects. Oman, they have mega projects, and they're trying to transform Oman to a new era, in addition to Saudi Arabia. I believe that Europe, the new Europe, is the Middle East.
المملكة العربية السعودية.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the coming 5 years will be totally different. Bahrain will be totally different. Kuwait, even Qatar, despite our difference with them, they have a strong economy and they will be totally different in 5 years. Emirates, Oman, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Iraq, and the opportunities they have. If we succeed in the next 5 years, many other countries will follow up. The coming renaissance in the next 30 years will be in the Middle East. This is the war of the Saudis. This is my war, which I launched personally, and I don't want to leave this life before seeing the Middle East at the forefront of the world, and it will happen 100%.
فقط للتنويه أي حرب
Any war, by the way, there are wars where we can lose. I don't believe that we will win in every war. But for the Saudis, we have a mountain called Tuwaiq Mountain. The will of the Saudis is as strong as this mountain. They will be defeated only if you can defeat and destroy this mountain.
Your Excellency, the Prime Minister, I'd like to ask you the same question. What do you expect and how do you see inside the future of the Middle East? After the Prime Minister and the Crown Prince answered that we will be with the Prime Minister in war, and I as well, most important, His Excellency, His Royal Excellency, that we need to focus on our nations and peoples and the growth in our countries. We need to we need to develop ourselves. This is the only way to realize in the Middle East a new kind of situation, a new future, a new economy in this world that competes across all the world. Economically, wars ended up. It is now we have the economic wars. We need to see who gets into the markets, who penetrates into the markets of others. What the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is doing, headed by the custodian of the Mosque and the Crown Prince, is the basic thing, because there's quite energy in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I lived in Saudi Arabia and I was educated in Saudi Arabia. This kind of energy that we see in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we've never seen before. There was a kind of big plans and they have achieved actually, but again at the same time there should be more change, more transformation, and as referred by the Executive of Bahrain, this kind of change will need to adapt and need to see the light in all the nations around us, around the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with Egypt, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, even Lebanon, even Iraq, even in Tunisia, Morocco, all these countries, we see that we see a kind of development and the growth, the economy sectors, and we always focus on our national economy or the Arab economy and the Arab economies, which of course reflects this kind of development and growth. And what His Excellency, Royal Excellency, already spoken about, we can never add anything more. We just can like push it up, and we all Arabs and we all in the Middle East. We need to cooperate and collaborate so that we create economic power, energy. Then after that, you can communicate with us. Thank you so much. The final word to His Excellency of Bahrain. What I can ما أستطيع أن أقول.
Comments are laid down as a marker for us to rally. It's a rallying cry for us to rally around, and we will support you in all your endeavors. You have a brother in Bahrain, and I know in Lebanon, and many among you here. We are so proud to see you say those words and mean them. مشكور الله يطول عمرك. 86 years ago, we found
86 years ago.
86 years ago, we found a tremendous resource under the soil of the desert, oil. And we built pipelines, and we built refineries, and we built ports to ship that oil and that valuable resource to the world. And with that money, we built schools, we built universities, we built hospitals, we built housing, and we built the modern countries in which we live. Today, the power that we must unleash in the Arab world is the power of innovation, al-ibtikar. And we must give people the tools to succeed in that. So the pipelines that we build in the future are lines of credit and support for startups and for businesses all over the region. The refineries that we build must be the incubators that house and allow great ideas and companies to be born. And the ports are the infrastructure and our connectivity to the world, whether that be physical infrastructure in aircraft and whatnot, or the digital infrastructure that we need so that we can compete on an equal footing with any other geography that is known to us. I am so proud of His Royal Highness's pride in the people of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We are also proud of the people of Bahrain. I know, Your Excellency, the people of Lebanon are always in your mind. We must be proud as Arabs, كعرب, نفتخر بتاريخنا وتراثنا. We must be proud of who we are. واللي أهم من اللي ممكن نكون.
Who we can be.
We should always. And on this journey, I wish you all well, and I am honored to be here by your side.
Are we done? I just want to conclude with one thing. Prime Minister Saad is going to be here for 2 days, so please, no say that he is kidnapped.
سيدي
بس بدي اقول شغله واحده.
Just to say one thing, with all success, you should always have someone shooting at you, and this kind of such a great success that Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is trying to achieve and not sharp, and the transformation is trying to realize. There always should be, we should always be some people envious of us, and also we should have people keeping us down. So I always pray that this country will be well guided, well protected by Allah.
I'd like to thank Your Royal Highness and Prime Minister, because you have restored confidence and trust to the Arab people, because you are the leadership and you are the giant, because you are the boldness and the innovation and modernization, and because you maintain sovereignty and history and our identity. I would like to thank you all.